In PMO Anonymous video number 1, we talked about how PMO can be an addiction similar to gambling and alcohol and heroin and otherwise, but PMO being a sexual addiction nonetheless is a very deep and profound and very stubborn thing which we may find ourselves enslaved to if we happen to be addicted in those various ways. In video number 1, I talked about how Alcoholics Anonymous has some insights into addressing addictions that I think are very, very wise, and we can take those ideas and employ them in people who are working with PMO Anonymous and trying to be free from their own particular sexual addiction in a PMO sort of a way. Now, one of the things that Alcoholics Anonymous employs in their Alcoholics Anonymous strategies is this. And before I get to that, let me just make one qualifying statement. I don't advise people to go to AA. I've never been to AA. I don't consider myself an expert at AA. But I am familiar somewhat with some of the things that they purport and teach, and that's to the degree that I understand those things, have found those things to be helpful. We're going to use some of those things in our meetings, in our videos here with PMO Anonymous. Well, back to one thing that Alcoholics Anonymous has learned and uses for their own particular members. So here it is. When a new member comes to the group, eventually a leader would take them aside fairly early, and when they've probably become acquainted with one another. The leader would say, here's one of the things that we would suggest that you consider doing, being a new member and a new participant in trying to be set free from your alcoholism. Here's something that we strongly suggest that our members do. And they talk to that member, he would talk to that member about a 90-day program. Now, what that means is a number of things, but certainly one thing that it suggests is what we want to encourage you to do is take 90 days and make a commitment to go to an AA meeting every day for 90 straight days. 90 straight days. On Monday, day 1, you go to an AA meeting, which means you've got to find out where 3 or 4 or 5 AA meetings are within 10 or 15 miles of your home. And on Monday, you're going to go to one of those AA meetings. On Tuesday, you're going to go again to an AA meeting. Wednesday, you might go to a different AA meeting because the other ones aren't there on Wednesday. Thursday, you're going to go to an AA meeting somewhere where it's held. And what they strongly suggest is that you enter into a 90-day commitment to be going to an AA meeting every single day for 90 straight days. Now, that's an extremely vigorous and strenuous and challenging thing for anyone to do, is to leave the house, perhaps, or go online or whatever, and go to a meeting for an hour every day on the computer or in a local meeting or whatever. That's going to be very challenging and very difficult and requiring a great deal of commitment. But AA is onto something, and what they're onto is this. This alcoholic addiction that you have is very, very, very deeply rooted and grounded. And an average commitment or effort is not going to suffice in helping you to break free from that addiction and become sober. You have an extraordinarily difficult, stubborn habit, and it's going to take an extraordinary effort on your part to become sober and then to be able to maintain that sobriety. And one way that we suggest to our members who come to Alcoholics Anonymous is this. The first 90 days are crucial. And it's crucial for the first 90 days that you go to a meeting where you're going to come under the influence of people who have struggled and are struggling, excuse me, and who are also succeeding by the things that they hear, the people that see, the stories that they hear, what the consequences that they've suffered, that I'm suffering, they need to be hearing that kind of stuff in a meeting for 90 straight days. And so they strongly suggest that they go to a meeting every single day because it's an extraordinary effort to address an extraordinary complicated problem that is an addiction. But what takes place in that meeting has to be duplicated and heard and participated on the part of the addicted person 90 straight days. And so I would suggest that if you are someone who has an addiction to PMO, I'm suggesting that you employ and commit yourself very near future to a 90-day program to exert an extraordinary effort to overcome your addiction in the first 90 days in your journey with PMO Anonymous. Your problem of PMO and addiction to PMO has ruined your life to some degree, your work, your family, your marriage for sure. And so, but because it's very difficult, it's been around for decades, and because it's an addiction, it's going to take an extraordinary effort on your part to overcome this addiction to PMO. And I would encourage you to get ready to make a commitment to do various things for 90 straight days to help overcome your PMO addiction. Okay? Now, this is PMO Anonymous video number 2. In PMO Anonymous number 3 and number 4 and number 5, we're going to be talking about a handful of things that you are going to commit yourself to do in every day in those 90 days. If you're an alcoholic, they would suggest that you go at least to an AA meeting every day. Well, in video number 3 and 4 and 5, I'm going to suggest that you do certain things for 90 straight days, and those things that are necessary for you to disentangle yourself from an addiction. And I will be getting into that in video number 3, number 4, and number 5. Okay? But I would be considering, challenge you to consider making the sacrifice, the extraordinary sacrifice, making an extraordinary change of priorities to commit yourself to 90 days to do go to extraordinary means for 90 straight days in order to help you to be free and to get to a place of sobriety, and then being able to maintain that after the 90 days are up. Okay? Why don't you consider that, and I will see you in video number 3 when we can get started with one thing that I would require you to do every single day on this 90-day commitment to be free from the addiction to PMO. I'll see you in number 3.